Hello and good afternoon, evening, wherever the heck you are, whenever you are watching this. I'm Ryan from Tips and Tricks for Magicians, doing Tuesday Tips and Tricks live. Today, got a couple tips and even tricks for you, fulfilling every wish here today. I'm going to talk about a little bit of technical stuff in terms of camera, because I know we're all learning, we're all adapting to this new world. And last time I was doing the live, I was kind of feeling a little, challenged by this whole thing. And since then, I've been working at it and thinking about it. Actually, I haven't been doing live performances much. I've done one or two, but I got some coming up, so I've been thinking about it more. And yeah, wanted to share one technical tip, which is you can see it. You can see it right now, the technical tip that I wanted to share. And maybe, hang on, see if I can draw a little more attention to it. Oh, what's this? That's right. Behind me is my technical tip for doing, it's not the answer to everything, but it is going to help just improve your scene, what you're presenting to the world. When I do shows, I'm very worried about the technical and the stage settings, and this is the same idea. So a backlight is what we're talking about here for video. Professional videographers know all about this stuff. I actually learned it from a guy who was a professional videographer for TV, the idea of backlighting. And essentially it is a separate light from what's on me, a totally separate light that is on the background, whatever that may be. And it just helps make a more defined scene. Because without that, if I can turn it off for a second, it's pretty good only because the background's pretty far away from me, or not that far, but so there's still definition, but just having that light back there does help. Oh, there it goes. Okay. Help make that scene a little bit more interesting. So in this case, the actual light that I have is nothing fancy. In fact, I just set this up today. I've been playing with different options, and I just set this one up today. I'll show it to you. It is this little guy. So I'm not going to shine it towards the camera here, but this is a little LED floodlight. Happens to come with a remote control because this one's multicolored, so I can change the settings and change the colors, which is cool because it lets you do different scenes. A lot of my branding is green, so I figured by default goes to green. But you don't need to have a specific light or a specific spotlight. You can use any lamp and just set it right behind you, wherever you're standing or sitting. You can set it like just right behind your back so the camera doesn't see it, but it will shine backwards. And as much as possible, try to prevent it from putting any light forwards. If you can put up a little piece of cardboard in front of it to block the light moving forward so it only goes back. But the point is, it doesn't have to be a high-tech light. It doesn't have to be a special studio light or anything like that. But just shining light onto your background, not too much. You don't want to make it brighter than you, but a little bit goes a long way to create a nice effect on video. That's a tech tip for you. Actually, I did have one other tip, only because somebody else was asking about this this week, and they were running into the problem where they were just getting uneven lighting and trying to figure out where to position the lights in their house, and they had studio lights that were just too bright or too reflective or just not good. And actually, this particular camera that I have, the webcam, I'm going to sneeze. Subdued. That's another tip I'll share with you someday, how to subdue a sneeze. But this particular webcam, I notice, doesn't like a lot of light. It actually is like, it's kind of dim in this room right now, and this webcam seems to like it. You can see my face. Looks okay. If I had more light, let's see if I can turn this on. Yeah, okay. So this is not going to be positioned right, but if I was to turn on more light, it doesn't take much before, even just that little bit, now I'm overexposed, right? So different cameras are going to behave differently, but you don't want to see this just solid whiteness on your face. So I found out it doesn't take much light in this room before, there we go. See, now I have color back on my face. That's what you want. So in order to get a nice even light, because what you don't want is a harsh lamp sitting at your face like this, ignoring the fact that it's too bright. It's going to create a lot of shadows. One half of my face is really hot, really bright, and the other half of my face is dark. And that's because the light is coming straight at me. A great tip you can use that'll just soften up your whole light, instead of aiming the lights at you, aim them anywhere else. And I'm in a room that's painted kind of an off-white, grayish color. And so the walls are light enough that I can just point the lights towards the wall. And now, instead of it being directly at me, the light is going from the light, bouncing off the wall and coming back at me. And what it does, it just disperses all that light and makes the light nice and soft. And there's no harsh shadows. If I'm holding cards up, there's no bright reflections coming off of the cards. And I can do that because, of course, I have a deck of cards within reach. But you can hold that up and there's no bright light shining on that card. So you're not going to get any reflection. It's just this room is 100% reflected light on me. So that's another really easy way to soften up your video and make it look even. Yeah. Ken here is agreeing with me. Yeah, bounce light is the best. It's just so much easier. It's not going to be as dramatic. You're not going to be able to control it as much per se, but just for general use in theater, they call it the general wash. It's just light everywhere. Anyway, enough of that technical tips. I hope that does help, because I know we're all trying to figure out this video thing at the same time, and it's all new to us. Some people are really resistant to it too. I've noticed they're like, I will never do a streaming show, and I think that's a weird attitude to me. That's weird, because I would bet a lot of these same people in previous times would say, oh, I'm super easy to work with. Yeah, hire me for your event. I can handle anything. Right? Because how many times we go into that where we're going into a banquet room where there's no stage? We're like, no problem. I can deal with that venue. Or the stage is only this big. No problem. I can deal with that venue. Or, the stage is at the far end and everyone and the people in the back of our, no problem. I can deal with that venue. So why don't you have that same attitude about streaming video? This is a new venue. That's all it is. A new venue that you need to figure out the kind of picky things about it. So rather than writing it off, just take it as a new venue, a new opportunity, a new way to share yourself and your performances. So I don't know. I'm not telling you what to do. It's just a weird attitude to me to just write it off. Anyway, let's get to the tricks. 180 degrees turn. I want to share with you a trick. This actually, I was doing this in my ring meeting last night. And you may have seen a couple years ago, I did a video of this trick. So you may recognize it. This particular prop was built by my old friend in Magic, Les Brocklesby, the IBM ring in Calgary, where I grew up. Is named after Les. So this was built by Les. He was an amateur woodworker and loved magic, and particularly loved old magic, Robert Harbin style, Jack Hughes, Eric Lewis style magic. And this is one trick that he built. So I wanted to show it to you, and then I'm going to talk about a variation I found on this. So the props are pretty simple, and I wish you could be here to just see how solid that is. Like that's a solid wood block with a hole in the middle, but very hefty, very solid. This is not quite so solid, but also made of wood and also has a hole all the way through it. It is the frame for the block. The third element is this is a ribbon, which I just dropped on the floor trying to be dramatic. Okay. The third element is a ribbon, which is, you can examine this stuff. There is nothing weird about anything. The block is a block, the frame is a frame, the ribbon is a ribbon. Here's what I do. Take that ribbon, go through the block. All good. The ends of the ribbon are going to go through the frame, like so. And then this end through the other hole in the frame, like so. So you can see the block is threaded and the ribbon is threaded through the frame. And when they go together, now, quite nicely, the ribbon goes through the block and through the frame as if they were built to work that way. Now, normally on stage you would have people coming up to, hold the ends of the ribbon so that they can, make sure it's all fair and all above board. And one person on that side, one person on the other side. And in the middle would be you. And even though these ribbon ends are held quite nicely, you can snap your fingers, do your magic pass, and poke that block right out. And the ribbon is still running through the frame. And again, that's nothing but a frame and nothing but a block. It's a pretty cool trick. But it's one of those things that's like a little puzzle trick. And I haven't really figured out how to do this in my show. And after I did this video a couple years ago, people liked it so much. Like I guess I kind of underestimated it, but magicians absolutely loved it. And hopefully you enjoyed it here today. And it got me digging into it. And I did the research and learned more about it. And that trick is about 110 years old, I think. I traced it back to about 1910. It was called the Misto block. And I only found old advertisements for it. But over the years, there's many variations of it that have come out. But it's a very old trick. And in my research, I found this article, The Magic of San Yen. And I believe this was from Genie magazine. Steve says repaint it. Yeah, absolutely. Definitely not my style, the paint job. But I'll show you something pretty neat here. So anyway, I was researching this and I found this article which talked about this trick. And in particular, he's talking about doing this trick as an opener in his act. It says, many years ago, San Yen, like so many others, purchased the die and frame. It goes on to explain the trick I just showed you. It was a good penetration, but had its drawbacks. It was fiddling to set, for example, and not always safe. And it talks about 3 things that could go wrong. San Yen was not prepared to take the risk since his opener had to be surefire. The effect was discarded for a while until one day, while playing with another block penetration, came the simple, obvious, and above all safe answer. I love the sound of that. So basically, it's the same effect, more or less, but an impromptu handling. And at the same time, performing the original video I did inspired a friend of mine to nag another friend of his to create this set, which is all beautiful natural wood. It's the exact same thing. Again, totally normal. Like if you were here, I would hand this to you and absolutely nothing to see. Heavy, solid block and quite heavy, solid frame. And then thanks to San Yen, I'll show you the simplified. Now, of course, in magic, there's always trade-offs, right? every time something is easier, I guess I can take Steve's comment away. Wasn't paying attention. So everything in magic is a trade-off, right? If it's easier to do, maybe it's not as impossible or not as clear. Maybe there's a little moment of fudging. So there's trade-offs in this, but as San Yen explained, there is the positive trade-off that it is 100% reliable, totally within your control, and essentially nothing can possibly go wrong. The additional wrinkle here, if you even those up, is that the ribbon actually goes through twice. So you wrap it around once on the bottom, and then you feed it through again to kind of tie the block in place, essentially. See? And you can see it going through the middle. Sorry, like that. And then same as before. Whoops, I didn't do this right. I literally just was working on this yesterday and messed it up. Surefire, if you know what you're doing. Anyway, here we go. Impromptu handling attempt number 2. So block goes through, again, proving that's all legit. It ties around and goes through again. The article also suggested stiffening the ends of the ribbon to make it a little easier to thread through. So it's tied around the block. This can go in place here. And just as before, that feeds through there. And that feeds through there. Just as before, the block gets put back inside, but I'll put it this way. You can see how it does, in fact. Yeah, I got snagged up a little bit there. There we go. How it's still wrapped around. All fair as can be. And yet, just as before, the block is able to slide out and the ribbon remains in place. So the trade-off, a little bit more finicky, right? A little, not quite as much clarity, which I absolutely love in a magic trick, is nice, simple, slow clarity. But bonus being that it's, again, nothing can go wrong with that method unless you mess it up. So what I want to talk about based on that was that you have to make these choices. You have to make the choices of what's more important to you. Is it more important that it is, you can, do that nice clear display like the first version, which is very clear, or the second version, which maybe doesn't allow you to be quite as clear, but more practical. So where do you set your dial? And that's up to you. And there's no right or wrong answer on that. It might even be certain situations, like if you're doing something, I don't know, on TV or something, you want to emphasize just how clean and clear it is. Maybe the first one is the better bet. Whereas if you're doing a casual performance or performance where you don't know if people are going to be what side, I don't know. Just, you got to consider your venue and consider your choices and consider your style. If you move at a faster pace, maybe the impromptu one would be better because you can just do it, get to it. So every magic trick has those moments. Every trick has whatever the weak spot is, and you need to figure out whether that weak spot complements what you're trying to do or it's fighting against what you're going to do. Because I showed you 2 different versions of that. There's another 5 or 6 or 10 different versions of a block coming off of a ribbon. So pick your poison, literally pick your poison, because there is a weakness. There is something, a little chink in the armor of every magic trick. So with that, I will bid you adieu. This has been Tuesday Tips and Tricks Live, where I just share things that are on my mind. So that's what was on my mind today. Thanks for tuning in, and I hope to see you next Tuesday. If you have any questions about this, or it inspired a question that I didn't talk about, you're welcome to ask. You can put a comment below. You can get in touch with me directly. Oh, and speaking of getting in touch with me directly, if you are unfamiliar with what I do in terms of this tips and tricks things, if you're new around here, I have just finished up something that might be interesting, which is this. Go to www.mymagictips.com/welcome. And what I've done is created a greatest hits tour, Ryan Pilling's greatest magic tips and tricks tour. And it is a seven email series of here's my 7 favorite things that I've put out. It involves tips and tricks and technical and practical and the freebies and gifts and all sorts of things. But it's 7 emails over the course of 2 weeks that will basically get you up to speed with who I am and what I do and what I like to do around here at Tips and Tricks for Magicians. So you can hop on there. Even if you know me already, you may have seen some of the things before. You may have missed others. So you can go to mymagictips.com/welcome. And maybe someday I will share the insider secret of how to suppress a sneeze during a live video. There is a technique. But I'll wait for that. It's just too good to share right now. So have a good night, a good day, a good afternoon, or a good morning, depending on where or when you are. Thanks for tuning in. Bye-bye.